Part 4 of episode 90, as always, is the special feature. And this week we have something that we haven't really done many times in the past, only one other time, and that is finisher versus finisher. So which move are we going to focus on? That is the frog splash. And if you're unfamiliar with how this segment works, it's not the same as the other segments that we've done multiple times, like the Superstar Scores or the Top Rope List. We don't rate people based on a point-by-point scale or anything like that. There's no literal ranking. There's just the issue of which person that uses this move makes that move their own. And with the frog splash, it's not necessarily the same as what we did the first round. The first time that we did this, we did the figure 4 leg lock, and we focused on The Miz, Jeff Jarrett, and the person who ended up being voted as the main figure 4 leg lock person, of course, Ric Flair. This one is different in that there's a lot of people that have used the frog splash, but there's no real one person above all the rest that you can call that's their move. We've got a couple people that we can talk about on this one. First up, we can talk about, and we're not going to do this necessarily person by person, but we can talk about Eddie Guerrero. We can talk about the spirit of Eddie Guerrero, Chavo Guerrero, D'Lo Brown with the lowdown, Rob Van Dam, Hornswoggle, Vickie Guerrero even has the frog splash as her finisher. Christian is somebody who's done it in the past. I'm not even fucking remembering who else.
Didn't Snooki do it?
Oh, she did that flip thing, yeah.
She did.
Yes! That is my favorite of all time, Snooki.
All right,
I cried inside when she did it.
Was not done from the top rope, though.
No, it wasn't. No.
Okay.
Before we start, I do have to give before we start, I do want to give an honorable mention to who I think was the Do you guys know who invented the frog splash?
Yes, he teamed with Eddie Guerrero.
A frog?
Art Bar.
Yep.
A frog?
It was actually called
the frog.
It was actually
why would they call it a frog splash?
That was Too Cold Scorpio's idea. He was working with Art Bar was working with Scorpio at the time, and Scorpio said that when he did it was called the Jackknife Splash at the time, and he said to Bar that it looked like he looked like a frog when he did it, so Bar renamed it the Frog Splash. Originally, it was the Jackknife Splash.
I like frog splash better. It definitely does look more like a frog than a jackknife.
I'd change it to the Jackknife Splash just to distance myself from all the other frog splashes.
What if you were doing the finisher?
Yeah, if my finisher was the frog splash, I'd call it the Jackknife Splash, just so no one would think Eddie Guerrero or RVD. You know, no, it's not the frog splash; it's the Jackknife Splash. It's totally different.
You know who else did the frog splash?
Kevin Nash when he tore his quad.
No, someone else who did it in the FWA. Michael Burhan.
Was that your finisher?
It was my finisher.
Well, there you go. Finisher versus finisher. Michael Burhan, frog splash.
I vote Burhan.
Miguel's trying to get my good book.
Sticking with Snooki.
Fuck you and Snooki.
Was it your career finishing maneuver? Or just used sparingly?
I used it. It basically was throughout my career. I used the frog splash. I can do it perfectly.
Going.
Believe it or not.
Frog splash. When you hear the phrase, who first comes to your mind? I personally, above all, and I don't know why, I think of D'Lo. I don't know why, but the lowdown is the first thing that I think of at the time. Maybe it's because I was more of a wrestling fan back when there was the Attitude Era and all that, and I didn't really... I mean, I was always more of a WWE guy than a WCW guy, so Eddie Guerrero, Chavo Guerrero, they come second over everybody in WWE. Hornswoggle, bullshit. That's just no fucking way.
Tadpole Splash?
Tadpole Splash.
Clearly the best.
Yeah, but as much as a lot of people probably are going to say RVD, I would say D'Lo's first person that comes to my mind.
I'll give D'Lo credit to be able to get the distance in the air to get not only your legs up but to get back into the frog splash position. Takes a lot. I mean, that's a lot of in-air multitasking. I gotta go with RVD, and that the only reason is because it's so clean when he does it. You know, everybody else it kind of just seems like they're kind of falling forward or slumping forward. I mean, he gets air, he splays out, he just it's so well animated than everybody else that you got to marvel at it.
So you give it 5 stars, as in
Yes.
5-star frog splash.
Paul
Yeah.
Heyman was not wrong when he named that move.
You know what? I will tell you something right now. I could do a better frog splash than RVD. Just saying.
You don't like RVDs?
I do. I think him doing it out of nowhere adds an extra sort of essence to it, so to speak. It differentiates what he does from the others, and he gets a lot more leverage when doing it. But I love the original, Eddie Guerrero's, of course. Even though it wasn't originally Eddie's to begin with, it was Art's, but then he passed it on. I think Eddie does it with so much more impact. And the way he does it, he is more fluid with it. When RVD does it and like grabs his stomach at the end of it, it just looks really stupid.
Yeah, I feel like Eddie doesn't hurt people as much as RVD does.
No, when RVD does it, he lands on someone, holds his stomach for like 2 seconds, and then jumps on them for a pinfall. It's like, if you're going to do it properly, with the impact. As you jump off that, now I'm going to explain to you guys right now how you do a frog splash off the top rope. The way the leverage goes, you actually bounce off the turnbuckle with your legs and leverage yourself up in the air. So as you're sort of going down for the frog splash, it's kind of like doing a sort of a squat in the air. If you want to say something like that, you bring your legs down, bring your arms up, and you give yourself that bit of leverage. And then the other guy who takes the bump, he's always got his hands sort of up near where his chest area is, and he elevates himself just a little bit so he can take the bump. And as you land down, it's not going to hurt as much as RVD makes it out to hurt in his freaking abdomen area. So it looks more stupid when he ends up taking the bump in comparison to when Eddie does it. Eddie looks more effective, but RVD has a lot more leverage because he can go a bit higher, and he can also move in like several different directions.
Don't you have to land on your knees and elbows when you do the frog splash?
You do. That's why you got to wear like elbow pads and knee pads when doing it.
Yeah,
some guys do it without, but it just you really could injure yourself if you do it wrong.
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen it before. Guerrero's debut. He debuted in his first matchup in WWE. He was against the Road Dogg, and he went for the frog splash and landed and completely separated his shoulder. Like you could see you could see as soon as he landed, his arm just completely went out of the socket, and they had to end the match prematurely. So I've seen it. It's gruesome, man. If it messes up on you, man, it's not a pretty sight.
Well, see, I would give RVD one little thing, and you kind of mentioned it real fast. Above everybody, I think RVD has the maneuverability over everybody else. He seems to be able to twist in the middle of the air if he needs to. Now, maybe that's just kind of he's correcting his own botch, but I can't imagine Chavo doing that. Like, Chavo is pretty standard. He just kind of jumps up there, does that, and that's it. Like,
Chavo's the spirit of Eddie Guerrero.
The problem with Chavo, he does it wrong. He does it really badly. I think a lot of it's got to do with the way he actually jumps off the rope. It looks like he's tripping off that freaking top turnbuckle when he does it. And he doesn't have enough elevation in the air. So when he lands, it looks like a normal sort of splash instead of a proper frog splash. When Eddie used to do it, it looked more fluid. And even when RVD does it, it looks fluid. He can do it. That's how he does it so well, because he's so familiar with it. When Chavo done it, it was like, oh, I'm doing it as a tribute. But it just looks terrible with him. It looks unfamiliar. I really think the Gory Bomb was better suited to Chavo than him doing that frog splash. Hell, even Christian can do it better than him.
Christian can do everything better than
frog splash.
Yeah,
Christian can do everything better than Chavo.
Oh, yes.
It's a shame Christian doesn't do it more in WWE, to be honest.
Well, he did, but I think it was one of those things where they had to stop him from doing it now that you got a guy like RVD's back. They tend to not have guys do the same move at the same time. Like, we remember the Stevie kick.
The spear.
Stevie Richards stopped doing that. Oh, yeah, that's just... I don't know what the fuck is going on. Everyone's used the spear.
Christian hasn't used it since he's come back to the WWE. He only used it in TNA.
No, he used it in the WWE as well. When he came back from injury the first time, he was using that as a babyface. when
I
after he
don't-
won the Intercontinental Championship off of Cody Rhodes.
He's using it as a finisher. I only remember him using the kill switch, formerly the
He was
Unprettier.
he was using it, if you remember, and they were like, "Oh my God, he's pulling out all the stops," and he was hitting him with the frog splash all the time.
Maybe they just stopped him from doing it because of safety reasons. I mean, you don't see many people pulling off top rope moves that much anymore, except for guys that have really proven that they can do it well, like RVD with the frog splash, or not to go off topic, but like an Evan Bourne with the shooting star press. You know, unless you can prove to them 100% that you can do it every single time without hurting you or the other person, I don't think WWE really allows top rope moves anymore.
I think that they do. It's just a matter of kind of like what we were saying earlier in the hot tags. They don't want to do too much oversaturation of it. How many people do you really need to have doing like the frog splash or there's not many moves that are different from the top rope that are safe. You've got RVD doing the frog splash right now. You've got Hornswoggle doing the fucking tadpole splash.
Remember the Cougar splash? Oh God.
Do we really have to devote time to any of those gimmick splashes? I don't mean to be a buzzkill, but I have nothing good to say about the tad. I have nothing good to say about the tadpole splash or anything of Hornswoggle.
But we've got
except now because he's actually really cool now.
But we've got people that do the typical splashes as opposed to the frog splashes. Even Rey Mysterio kind of throws a frog splash in there every once in a while. So I think that they just kind of limit the top rope moves. Plus, also, you don't want to do the whole spot monkey thing. So that's one of the reasons why I think Christian isn't necessarily doing it. But Christian has done it every once in a while. I think it's one of those moves where they don't want that to be synonymous with Christian. And when you've got somebody like RVD who really, I mean, people want to talk about, RVD is so good in the ring, he's so innovative and all that. He really has like 5 fucking moves and that's it. And
it's like
if
the
you
rolling
take that,
thunder.
Right, you take the rolling thunder away,
The spinning heel kick,
and you take what the hell's that other move?
Split-legged moonsault.
Yeah, like you take away those couple of moves, he doesn't have anything else. So you need to give him the frog splash. If you take that and you give that to somebody else on the roster, if like, say,
Ali.
Yeah, Kali. I would love to see Kali try to do a frog splash. But if you gave that to maybe even like a Curtis Axel or a Dolph Ziggler or something like that, and he started to use that as like a finisher, there would be nothing to RVD left anymore.
Yeah, because they probably they would probably do it better than him.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
No offense, he is getting up there in age.
No, but the thing is about RVD, and I'd have to echo Tony's sentiment on this one. He wasn't the type of guy that could actually polish a move. He was literally one of those guys. I would even
because he's still performing.
No, but yeah, he's only just come back, so it will take time before they need to sort of put him back in the WWE circle of things. But in terms of RVD, I'm not the kind of guy who'd see him as a very polished wrestler. He does like a, freaking rolling thunder thing. Then he does the kicks. Then he ends up like he used to do the Van Terminator and all that crap with the chair, but can't do that now because PG and everything. And you can see how between him and a guy like Christian would be more versatile. And whenever I see Christian do a frog splash, he does it so seamlessly. He does it in kind of the same vein as Eddie. But Eddie always had that pace to it. When Eddie did it, he sort of used to just jump off the rope, hit it. And he would hit it so flawlessly. When you look at Chavo, he's kind of like a slower, shittier version of it. And I just hate, I literally hate every move of Eddie's that Chavo's stolen. Like
that's Chavo, just a lesser version of a Guerrero, basically.
Yeah, and it's like the Three Amigos and all that shit. You just look at it and think, you're never going to be Eddie Guerrero. You're not Eddie Guerrero. The fact that you're using every single move of his and doing it wrong.
It's sad when his wife and his friends did better tributes to him than his nephew.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I just don't see the appeal in Chavo Guerrero at all.
I like Chavo, actually.
No, as like an Eddie Guerrero clone. I think doing his own thing, he was fine. I remember like when Chavo had the freaking psycho gimmick in WCW. Like, here's Chavo. It made me crack up with laughter.
You mean Pepe?
And Pepe. Yep. He was extremely funny. He had his own moveset. He knew how to do things. With Eddie was in a different caliber. He could switch things up rather easily. When you look at a guy like Rob Van Dam, he's literally been the same guy throughout his entire career.
Now I'm going to get this out of the way before we kind of break it person by person, whatever. I'm going to say this. I think Eddie Guerrero is overrated. I think that Rob Van Dam's overrated. I think that D'Lo Brown never should have been Intercontinental Champion. I think Chavo is at times better booked than he should, and at times not given the credit that he should. I think Hornswoggle is garbage, and I think that Christian is... I don't know. That's tough. Christian is sometimes overrated, sometimes underrated. It kind of depends. I think he's a little bit underrated by WWE, but massively overrated by a lot of his fans. So
Really?
all of these guys, I think, at best, they're kind of just mediocre. And I think that the same kind of... I shouldn't say mediocre for the people. No, I shouldn't say that. I think that nobody here is a wow factor. I should say that instead. And the frog
apart
splash...
from Michael Burhan, okay?
And the frog splash is a move that I think is completely devoid of wow factor. I think that that's as bland as you can get for a finisher. Even, like, on par with the DDT.
I disagree.
But it comes off the top rope, though, so there it has a little more impact, and not everybody uses it. So it's still a little different.
It's the impact and the style of the move. When you could pull it off sort of like out of nowhere, like with Eddie, every time he hit it, it looked devastating because he did it so impactful. It used to be like at a flash or a drop of a pin, bam, frog splash. When everybody else does it now, it looks like they stand on the rope, do their little jig or whatever the fuck they're going to do, and do a fucking slow version of the frog splash that doesn't look as stunning or as awesome as when Eddie does it. Even Van Dam now doesn't do it to the way that he used to. If you look at the way he did it in the Invasion, it was always bang, he would hit you with it instead of, oh, I'm going to jump off the rope, frog splash, there you go.
I think one of my favorite Van Dam frog splashes had to be during the Invasion period where he cleared Stone Cold and hit Kurt Angle. That was across the room or the ring. I think that was impressive.
That was extremely impressive. And again, that's what differentiates him. He can get that distance in. And when he did it then, it was always fast and to the point. And that's what you've got to do with a finisher. It's something that you hit someone with and it looks like it's fucking going to hurt. You'll feel it, when you're watching it on TV. Nowadays, finishers aren't that great. With the oversaturation of the DDT, when Jake the Snake used to do it, people used to feel it and like, wow. Drew McIntyre kind of brought that wow factor back when he was doing the double arm DDT. When he used to hook the arms and just hit you like straight with them. Now
the Future Shock or whatever he called that move.
The Future Shock DDT. Nowadays,
he only knew what the future had in store for him.
Oh, yes.
But that's the thing. When you look at a move, it's how the person does it. It's how impactful that move looks. When Brock Lesnar hits an F5, you're going to sit there and think, fuck, that guy's down. You're not going to sit there and watch someone like, I'm going to look at a bad finisher, like Petey Williams when he does the Canadian Destroyer. The way he does that, you're sitting there thinking, okay, that guy had to help him put him in a power driver. That doesn't look impactful. That looks stupid.
I actually like the Canadian Destroyer. I think it's...
I do too.
You would, Sean. You would. And you would,
like it too.
Fellow Canadian. It
has nothing to do with me being Canadian. I think a flip pile driver is a cool looking move.
No, but the guy will have to assist you in doing it. So the legitimacy of the move just goes out the window.
I still say the most devastating finishing move I've ever seen was the Gringo Killer.
Well, I'm going to say this. This is a wrestling universe where a people's elbow keeps people down for 3 seconds.
I have a huge problem with that move as well.
To be fair, though, that didn't used to be his finisher. It used to be the setup move into the rock bottom, but the elbow got so over, they decided, let's just use that as a finisher, and the fans have been buying into it ever since.
It's a fucking elbow drop. How is that going to finish me off? If I've got a guy laying on the fucking floor and I hit him with an elbow drop, he's going to get back up and pistol me.
It's electric.
It's
electric.
Of course that's ridiculous. It's just as ridiculous as somebody making a leg drop look like a finishing move. Oh.
Or a tadpole splash.
Actually,
Don't even get me started on Hogan and that fucking leg drop.
I'll give the leg. I don't want to really branch off too much on this, but I'll give the leg drop an edge over the people's elbow, because at least the leg drop, you've got this giant, thick leg of Hulk Hogan going over your neck. Elbow drops just kind of nah. But on the frog splash thing, it's kind of I want to get this out of the way because I know nobody's going to go for it. Hornswoggle and Vickie Guerrero. I'm going to go around the horn. And let's just run these down. Braden, your thoughts on these two?
Burhan till last, though, guys, okay? Because you don't have to big me up.
Hornswoggle, of course. I think has probably the most infamous frog splash in the history of the business. I'm sure it's even over Vickie because he actually used it more than once, and he won a championship off of it. For fuck's sake,
he's gotten a couple wins.
Yeah, quite a few. Hit people in the middle of the Royal Rumble with it. We've had to endure it multiple times. His easily the worst.
The cruiserweight division died.
Yeah, with the tadpole splash. Yeah, the cruiserweight division was thriving until it took a tadpole splash to the middle of the ring.
No,
anyway,
it was pretty much dead.
Yeah.
I think Hornswoggle winning the belt was pretty much the end of the rape session. That was the low blow, and that's it.
Yeah, and then Vickie, well, the only thing I remember from her doing it was once at WrestleMania. It got fucked up, and then I remember Cole exclaiming it as a fucking, what do you call it? A hog splash?
I think he would have called it a hog splash.
That's what he called it on commentary, and I'm just like, oh, God. As if that came off any worse. You have Michael Cole making fun of her on commentary. I know everybody does it, but the anti-bullying campaign there, they're supposed to be being a star. Yeah. They're not going to make anybody's top tens. We'll just leave it at that.
Dace, what do you think about those two?
Both fantastic and extremely athletic. I truly wish I had their abilities. We need more matches with those two in it, hands down.
Just the two of those having the frog splash off?
Absolutely. From the little ladder he pulled out from WrestleMania where it was like a step stool. I think he needs to start doing more frogs or tadpole splashes, and kudos to them. As kudos to Vickie for getting up on that top rope. That's
without a kid,
I get scared. I get scared going up on the second rope. That's just me.
Seriously?
Hey, I do the flying headbutt.
Well, once I come over to the States, Dace, I believe I'm going to sign up to OTW, and we'll have a Dace versus Burhan match finally.
I know, but think about it. Flying headbutt. We all saw where that ended up. People are going to die.
Yeah, but frog splash is actually safer than the flying headbutt. Just saying.
I know. I do the headbutt, though, so I'm going to shoot you.
Cool.
Miguel, what do you think about those two?
I have nothing good to say about the Hornswoggle character, but the guy seems nice. I've seen him in interviews. He seems like a really cool guy. If I had a group of friends, I'd want him to be in it, just because you need a midget in a group like that. But he seems like a really cool guy. Vickie, I am starting to feel bad for. That whole hog splash thing, I'm just like, it doesn't feel right anymore. I mean, she's lost a lot of weight. I mean, I'll say this right now. If I was still living in the old neighborhood I lived in, and she was one of the people in that neighborhood, I don't know. I'd probably mow her lawn.
So, you know what, Miguel? Would you bang?
What?
Would you bang?
What, Vickie?
Yes.
If she looked like she did now, yeah, sure.
Here we go, Vickie. Call him.
Sean, what do you think?
Oh my god, I just watched Vickie Guerrero's frog splash now. That's just terrible.
That's a highlight of WrestleMania 26, I'm sure.
That's what I took a break from the WWE. So yeah, Vickie Guerrero is a no, and Hornswoggle is just a no. I don't like the way he puts his little arms in between his little legs and lands.
So if he had normal sized arms and legs, it'd be different.
It's like a baby frog splashing me.
Actually, it's less impactful.
Yeah, my
Hey,
son
it's a-
could do. Actually, my son did a more impactful frog splash last week.
Hey, that tadpole splash beat Jack Swagger several times.
I know, and that's kind of sad.
No,
We the
no one
fucking
got
people.
beaten by that as much as the innovator of the frog splash in Chavo Guerrero. He lost more times
yeah,
to that
that
move
was
than
bad.
anybody else. Moo.
You know what? The biggest time, the best time for Chavo Guerrero was Kerr in white. If it's not white, it's not right.
That gimmick didn't have enough time to really get over. That gimmick could have been something more, but circumstances.
So Burhan, any thoughts on Tadpole and Hog Splash?
I would go with the Cougar Splash because I'm not as bad as Cole. I love Vickie. I think Vickie is awesome. I would do Vickie. Vickie, call me. In terms of splashes, I think hers would be more impactful than the midgets. And I think Jack Swagger and Cesaro should team up and have a thing against Hornswoggle.
By the way, let me just say something right now. That ending of Raw was BS.
What ending of Raw?
The ending of Raw where Daniel Bryan beat up not only Cesaro and Swagger but Ryback as well. BS.
What's this have to do with the Frog Splash?
I don't know. I know. All I know is I lost points
Miguel?
that night. I don't like it.
Miguel, we don't want another half an hour shoot promo on TNA, okay? Let's just get back to the topic at hand, and then we can all talk about the big steaming pile of Dixie Carter right in the toilet later on. As you're saying, Tony?
Yeah, so out of the ones that we kind of didn't rule out, now, probably the better thing, because we kind of mentioned, we sort of talked about who has the better height, who can land it better, who looks more convincing, all that other kind of stuff. I don't think that there's any other kind of real qualifications that we can narrow it down to. Do you guys think of it that there's anything that we can kind of separate before picking who we think is the best?
I think all you got to do is pick, though. I mean, you can talk about technique all you want, but we all have in our head who we think probably does it the best. And Burhan brought up a lot of good points, especially in Eddie's in particular.
Yeah, you know what? I can say one thing as well. When I had my match with Eddie Guerrero, and I'm going to keep touting this until the day I die. I had a match with Eddie Guerrero. He sort of helped me out with that move and helped me perfect it. So I love Eddie, and I think anybody even tries to compare anybody else's frog splash to Eddie's, they got to look at the original. Even D'Lo's was sluggish in comparison. He probably looked best when he was doing it with the vest on. That's me.
So you're going to go with Eddie?
Going with Eddie.
Same here. When
My
I
boy.
think of the move, or at least
Viva Mirazza.
I do visualize it with him, though. I don't know if it's because of the legacy that's kind of lived on after his passing or whatnot. But even before then, I kind of, when I was younger, associated the move with him too, because he was at the time the only one I seen do it. Basically, or make like a big time finishing move out of it.
I
So I
watched
always think of
WCW and WWE at the same time, and when he was doing it, I believe you had D'Lo doing it at the same time, and I always went for Eddie's. Simple. And sorry for cutting you off there, Braden.
No, it's no problem. But I'm with Burhan and associate the frog splash entirely, as an Eddie move for sure.
Sean?
I'm going to go with RVD. Just because of the height and elevation he gets off the rope. I don't like the fact that he holds his ribs when he lands. If it wasn't for that, then it would definitely be RVD. But it's a toss-up between RVD and Eddie for me.
RVD getting a slight edge?
Slight edge because of the height.
Miguel?
I gotta go with RVD. I didn't grow up watching WCW. In fact, when I started watching WWE, it was right around the time of the invasion. So one of the first guys I saw doing it was RVD, and I have a lot of respect for Eddie, but I just think RVD just does more with the move than he does in terms of the elevation, in terms of just the animated way he does it. So I'm going to have to go with RVD.
Dace?
Slight edge.
Snooki. No, all joking aside, I really feel that I've been watching him as you guys have been talking between Eddie, RVD, and Christian. I don't like the fact that RVD holds his ribs afterwards, and the way he does it, it doesn't look like a finisher when you roll around and then come over to pin him. Eddie did that a couple times too, but when it comes to smoothness and making it look impactful, I watched one where Christian did it to Sandow, and it looked like a finisher. So I'm going to have to go with Christian.
I probably would give the edge to RVD, and it's kind of in a similar boat to what everybody's saying, where it's kind of, if anybody else, I would give it to Eddie Guerrero. And the main reason I would pick those two above the other ones, even though I said that I kind of associate D'Lo with it, nobody else probably does, so I can't give him that kind of an edge.
Don't bandwagon. Stick by your guns, man.
No.
Just because we all say it, you know.
No, I had this halfway written up before I started the show. D'Lo is who I associate it with when I first think of a move, but that doesn't necessarily mean I think that he does it the best. There are some moves that I kind of when people say spear, a lot of people think of Rhino. I personally hate Rhino's gore. I'm like one of the few people that I know that actually hates that.
So
and I think
associated with Goldberg, I'm sure.
Yeah,
he associates it with Big Dave.
Technical difficulty is there, so I had to split this up a little bit. I was talking about why I think that D'Lo shouldn't get the pick for that. As I said, and I'm probably going to backtrack a little bit here, I do kind of picture D'Lo as the person when I first think of Frog Splash, but at the same time, probably nobody else does, and that factor has to come into play with this. Most people would say RVD or Eddie, and that's actually one of the huge things that I base finisher versus finisher on, is who makes this the iconic move of what it is. Between Eddie and RVD, though, I'd give the edge to RVD because of the fact that even though, as we've been discussing, he might not necessarily do it the proper way where he doesn't protect himself well or whatever, I think that looks more impactful. Eddie's is smooth, yeah, but sometimes smooth doesn't come off as more vicious, and if you botch, but it ends up looking like it really hurt, then, hey, you know what, as long as it didn't actually hurt the fucking people, then I'd kind of rather see that a little bit more often. I hate to kind of give something to RVD because I keep running him down because I'm not a big fan, but I go with RVD.
Again, I just have an issue with RVD's version of it. It's because the fact that he keeps holding his fucking stomach afterwards. It just looks really stupid. In terms of his elevation and the way he does the move, the way he performs it, yeah, he does bring something new to it. But Eddie Guerrero, I believe, just does it flawlessly.
When he holds his stomach, it makes him look weak.
Yeah.
If he just did it, it would look like a finisher. That's what bugs me.
You know what it reminds me? You know what it reminds me of? The difference between Guerreros and RVDs. It's like the difference between Bret Hart's sharpshooter and The Rock's sharpshooter. You know how Bret Hart does it, and he actually sits down when he does it, and he doesn't look like he's struggling, whereas The Rock kind of just stands there with the guy's legs twisted around his, and he's like screaming and scrunching his face up, kind of like that.
One arm too. Like Rock has got his like one arm dangling out. Like Bret locks it in and makes it look like a legitimate submission.
Yeah, The Rock makes it look like a piece of shit, to tell you the truth. Anybody who taps out to The Rock's version of the fucking sharpshooter needs to be ashamed of their fucking selves, because it's a terrible, terrible finisher. He makes it look really green, and I've got huge issues with The Rock in his finishes anyway.
Well, that's kind of a spoiler for when we do the sharpshooter one, because I actually thought we might do that one next, or not necessarily the next episode, but the next finisher versus finisher. There's a good chance that it would end up being the sharpshooter, where we could do Owen Hart, Bret Hart, The Rock, Sting, yeah.
Natalia.
Or another version that we might be having maybe soon, I don't know, is the super kick. The last call, the one that Dolph Ziggler pulled out, Stevie kick.
I'm waiting for the cutter episode where we can compare the RKO versus the diamond cutter. And
that episode will probably actually also include the Stone Cold Stunner, even though it's not the same exact move.
It's more of a jawbreaker. I wouldn't say it's more of a cutter, because a cutter is actually planting your face into the ground, whereas with the stunner, it's more of like a jawbreaker. You're knocking somebody's jaw against your shoulder.
I have to agree with Miguel on that one.
Well, we'll see.
At one point, when I was starting out, I used the Stone Cold Stunner as my finisher before I was told to change it.
Oh, the Twisted Fate can also be done on the cutter episode.
Yeah, true. If you guys have any suggestions for what you'd like to see the next special feature be, I don't know if I necessarily have that figured out. As I said before, I don't know what we're going to do for August 2nd's live show, but
Stink face.
but no,
Comparing
there's
Rikishi's versus Terry's.
there's the August 9th episode 92, which doesn't have anything scheduled right now. So if you guys have any suggestions, throw them our way in the comments or in the contact form or tweet us or anything like that. And who knows, maybe your suggestion will be the one that we go with. Only thing left to do for this episode is the end cap kind of stuff. Starting, of course, with the plugs, and as I mentioned in Part 3, Sign Me Up initiative, bring a Smark Out Moment sign to any kind of wrestling event, whether it's an episode of Raw like John Bruce did, or an episode of TNA taping, or ROH, or a signing, or God knows what else. If you bump into Ultimate Warrior on the side of the road and you've got a Smark Out Moment sign, you want to take a picture of him eating it or something fucking crazy the way that he would do things, go ahead and take a picture of it and send it to me. I'll put it up on Smack Talk and on smarkoutmoment.com. I'm going to come back around to me a little bit later on, but let's move on with Braden.
Okay, you can, of course, subscribe to me at my YouTube channel. It's www.youtube.com/boobies. You can follow me on the Twitters, Facebooks, and all that afterwards. It's all connected to the same page. Visit www.fanboysanonymous.com that I also have basically plugged into my channel as well. It'd be really helpful if all of you would tune in to the first ever live edition of Smack Talk, because we would love to talk with each and every viewer of this show. So just keep in touch with everything we got going on here. That's all related to Mega Powers Radio, Fanboys Anonymous, and, of course, Markup Moment and Smack Talk, and we hope to see you soon.
Dace.
I have a lot of shit to plug. This is crazy. You can check me out on megapowersradio.com every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have some big things coming up in the pipeline. August 7th, I'm really excited about the show, and I'm hoping we get the announcement out there soon. Also, tune in next week for the my show and the Friday live edition of Smack Talk, which I think is awesome that you're going live. Check me out August 3rd at OTW in Williamstown, New Jersey. We're doing a big summer show at 7 p.m. Also, check out synergy.com or synergycomic.com. They will be doing Abby's Clash for the Canines, and yours truly will be helping out with that. So donate, it's a good cause, and follow me on Twitter at TheDaceman. Oh, and for, where is she? Future Diva, I forget what your Twitter handle is. Fuck Lillian Garcia. That's for you.
Miguel.
Fanboysanonymous.com. 90s Kid Presents is my blog. I am just now starting up on the this week's article. My job has been really bad this week. They've got me doing full time again, so trying to find time to write this stuff and play the games is tough. And I just today got a new Dreamcast because my old one was really touchy. So finally, I'll be able to get a review up. I just got to take about an hour or 2 or 3 to play one of my games. But hopefully by the end of tomorrow, I should have an article up.
Sean?
Follow me on Twitter at Shaughnessy2K37. Also read all my rants and stuff about Fallen Skies at Fanboys Anonymous. And please subscribe to me on my YouTube because I need it. And it's Shaughnessy1989. That is my YouTube. Back to you, Tony.
Burhan, last up.
And for those of you who want to start a Kickstarter for me and Dace and see Burhan vs. Dace actually happen, you can do so because that's great of you. You can also check me out on fanboysanonymous.com, www.fanboysanonymous.com. I got Gameplay, which is a podcasting show about games, because I know loads about games and stuff. I really do. I'm not shit. I don't lie. I also do, of course, Smack Talk. Just keep listening to Smack Talk and listen to my lovely golden voice. And remember, I'm King Burhan because I won a tournament in Rio de Janeiro somewhere. It's legit. Tony knows. And also check out my blog, nerdgenius.com. And my YouTube channel, youtube.com/thenerdgenius. And for those of you who want to know what time I Got Gameplay is, tomorrow is 8 p.m. on the Mega Powers Network, where you can see the Dace Band show, you can see Geek Speak, you can also see our post-Raw show and our pre-pay-per-view shows. I think the next pre-pay-per-view show we've got coming up is SummerSlam. Make sure you check out these shows, support the network, support fanboysanonymous.com, support Smark Out Moment, and by all means, support Tony Mango because he really needs your help, guys. He needs the money.
Oh, and you forgot one more show on Mega Powers Radio, Keeping Kayfabe, where wrestling is still real to us.
Damn it! And it's not on Mega Powers Radio.
Oh,
That show is actually on Dream Elite.
Well,
so that's why I didn't.
I'm still gonna plug it for Payton.
I am on every Thursday on Keeping Kayfabe as well, guys, because one wrestling show can't hold this much Burhan. So there you go.
And Frog Splashes.
And Frog Splashes. If you want to see any of my wrestling stuff, I will see if I can go through the archives there, Burhan, and put it up on my YouTube channel, if I can find it, because a lot of my tapes have gone missing. So I have to go through my stuff and see if I've got any footage for you people.
Alright guys, rounding this back out to me, as we mentioned before, fanboysanonymous.com for everything geek if you're interested in video games, movies, TV shows, comic books, celebrity news, any of that kind of stuff. That's the website for you to check out. If you're into me complaining about normal everyday stuff, go to outonlimbs.com where you can check out me bitching about things like why doesn't anybody dress up at casinos anymore, or what's the opposite word for nightmare. Any kind of stuff like that. Check out the Raw post show coming up this week after Raw. Remember to check out any kind of Mega Powers Radio related stuff, including that August 2nd next episode of Smack Talk. As I said, I don't know necessarily what time it's going to be. It's either going to be 8, 9, or 10 o'clock. And we're going to try to get as many guest hosts from the past and some new people in the future to pop up on that. But we'd really like to see as many of you guys call in as possible, and you guys can answer the Ask Him Live, do the hot tags. Maybe I'll do the time limit on the hot tags that I used to do. I don't know for sure. None of this stuff is completely set, so check smarkoutmoment.com throughout the week, and I'll try to give you guys as many updates as possible. That's about it that I can say from my end of things that I haven't already mentioned a bunch of other times before. For everybody who's been on this episode, thank you for listening and everything like that. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out. Adios, everybody.
Hey, this outro's really gay. Tony Mango's angry, so what you say? Looking at his chance, 'cause he'll do the outro dance. Outro dance. Woo!